Hello, this is Mark Sabatella from Outside Shore Music. In this video, I want to talk about the relationship of a melody to its accompaniment, and specifically I'm going to be mostly focusing on the harmonic content of that accompaniment, but the rhythmic content also can be relevant also. And I guess my point here is going to be that our perception of the melody can vary very much based on what is going on in that accompaniment. And so I'm going to play you a melody that just consists of basically some G's, an E flat, some F's, and a D. And I'm going to play this in a variety of different contexts before I play, the original context that's kind of spawned this discussion. So what if I played you a melody with those pitches that looked something or sounded something like this? And that sounds like a nice, simple, little pleasant song. It could be a little children's song or something, right? A lullaby, maybe, right? But what if I took those same exact notes and changed up the harmonic and the rhythmic context and made it more like this? Totally different rhythmic context, totally different harmonic context. The relationship of each of those notes to the chord I put underneath it, whatever sense of key I had, totally different, right? A lot of things going on differently. I'll just play one other variation of this. So the last one was sort of a, I don't know, Latin jazzy sort of thing. This one might also sound a little jazzy. But what if I went like this? Now it's a different kind of piece, right? The relationship, and in all cases, sometimes those melody notes were chord tones, sometimes they were non-chord tones, color tones, but they had different, there was this one, the melody note starts off as the third of the chord. The next one that I played, it's a sharp 11 on the chord. The next version I played, it was a seventh of a chord, right? And so the relationship of that melody to the chord tells us something about what it wants to do. So, have I played it enough that you know what the actual song is here, the actual melody? It is this. It is Beethoven Symphony 5. You knew that, right? Maybe you did. Maybe you didn't. Maybe I disguised it well enough that I didn't ruin the surprise. But that's the deal. It's in octaves, with no harmonic context at all. No harmonic context, right? But then we get very clearly C minor. Very clearly C minor, and not a lullaby at all. Not a funky Latin thing, not a jazz ballad or any of those things. It's Beethoven, right? It's very not a lullaby. It's got some intensity to it. It's a quiet intensity here, but of course we know it gets bigger. But it starts off big. Oops, this octave. It starts off nice and big, but with no harmonic context. And so the question that kind of spawned all this discussion in my head, or this thought in my head, was someone wondering, well, gee, if you had never heard this piece before and you just heard that melody, would you have known, without ever having heard Beethoven before, that it was going to be 1 and 5 in C minor? Or would your ear have told you it was 1 and 5 in E flat major? Or would your ear have filled in one of these, jazzier versions or something else still, right? Yeah, and we don't know because it's going to be really difficult to find anyone in the world who hasn't heard the original to be able to ask them that question. Probably we might be able to find someone and get like do a survey of people who have heard enough music to recognize chords and keys, but somehow managed to have never heard this piece before, and ask them which of those harmonizations sounds like it goes with the piece. So. That's just some observations about relationship of melody to chords and key and how much it affects the melody and our perception of the melody and our perception of maybe where that melody wants to go next. What's going to come next is going to be based on what the context is around it. So, as much as we would love to be able to talk about melody as if it existed in a vacuum, normally it doesn't. An exception is the first, opening bars of Beethoven's Fifth, where we get to hear that melody completely devoid of harmonic context, but then the rest of the piece supplies that context. So normally in any tonal music, that harmonic context or rhythmic context, all the different things, counterpoint, whatever else is going on, is going to deeply, deeply influence how we perceive that melody and what, as composers, we then might want to do with that melody.